Okay, well, I'm a little encouraged. I've been experimenting with trying to get better audio on my Drift HD camera here after the initial shock and disappointment. The first thing I did this morning, or when I started working on this, was get a new microphone. I remembered I had this Midland radio headset that I use with a family radio service radio when my friend Craig and I ride together. He lives in Arizona, so we only do it once or twice a year. But it's really great for using the family radio service to talk to each other. Really, I recommend. If you can talk to your friends you're riding, it really adds a lot of fun. So anyway, I snipped the microphone off of that because I figured, well, that microphone's designed to be used in a motorcycle headset. So maybe it'll work a little better. And I think it did work a little better, but I still got quite a lot of distortion where it sounded like the automatic gain control on the drift camera was just going nuts once the noise reached the level at which in this arrangement with this bike and this helmet happened at about 40 miles an hour. The AGC on the drift just went nuts. So I got home and I was about to say, well, I'll just worry about it tomorrow, and I got a note from Mrs. 808. It says, hey, they've got a new firmware update. I hadn't thought to check because it's a brand new camera, but obviously that's the first thing you should do when you get any piece of electronics these days. Well, sure enough, there was a firmware update that's advertised to improve the microphone performance. So I put it in and I just did a test run. Then I started to freak because there was no audio. Well, I took it back in and playing with it a little bit. They've obviously changed the microphone sensitivity setting. I was running it before in the lowest setting. Now apparently the lowest setting just cuts the mic off, because at the low setting with the new firmware you get no sound at all from either the internal or external mics. So I've stepped it up one notch and verified that my mic is still working. So we're about to give it the acid test here. We got our family Thanksgiving is tonight in a couple of hours. I have to start cleaning up. The reason we're having it tonight is because Miss Pat and I will be out of town on the actual Thanksgiving. We're going to go take a short vacation. Anyway, okay, here we go. Is the mic distorting? Is it going nuts? Okay, got up to about 50 there, up to about 11,000, 12,000 RPM. Now I've slowed down to a little bit more sane speed. Still fairly noisy. If it's working here, that's pretty good, because my FJR is much quieter than this bike is. You know, because I got the big windshield and the fairing. Here we are picking up the speed a little bit. Now I'm sure there's no policeman right around the corner. Going 50, it's pretty noisy. It'd be interesting to see if the new drift software can handle this. I love this bike. I've got to get to the bottom of the cooling problem that this bike has. You can only drive it about 30 miles and it'll start to overheat because it loses coolant. It's not leaking that you can see. So it's one of two things. It's either it did have an overheat incident the summer before last, right before I got my FJR. Well, actually not right before it, but what motivated me to go bike shopping was because a stupid screw fell off of the water pump housing. It was an August day. It was about 110 degrees. I'm doing on the interstate. I looked down, the temperature gauge is pegged. Fortunately, it was right in front of I was almost right in front of the local motorcycle shop. So I stopped there, got a ride home. Make a long story short, they said there was nothing wrong with it. I replaced the bolt, took it back to them. Nothing wrong with it. Well, they said we ran it in the shop all day. It works fine. Well, it doesn't work fine. So I figured it's one of two things. When an overheat happened, either it damaged the thermostat, which on the Ninja is a fairly complicated little device, or it damaged the cylinder head. If it damaged the cylinder head, that's a BFD. But this is such a nice bike for, you know, short to medium rides where you get on an awful lot, like some kind of group ride or riding with your friends, or you just want to do like I'm doing right now and just take a bike around the block or just run down to the store. My 650 pound FJR that's so tall for me is quite a production for me to get on and get out and ride. To do, you know, to justify it, I kind of feel like, well, I have to really be, you know, on a mission, going on a cross country or, you know, going somewhere. Well, this bike, I don't feel that way. You know, this bike I can, believe it or not, even with the little tiny 29-inch slow seat, I have trouble actually. It's not easy for me to get on this bike. It's not easy for me to get on any bike. I should just get a Bergman. Okay, I'm driving 5,500 RPM, fairly noisy, don't have quite as much wind as we did yesterday. Be interesting to see if this new firmware and the new microphone make much difference. So we'll know in a minute.